Unsyndicated presents Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian.
So what is up? Glad you can join us wherever you may be. He is Matt Shepard. I'm Sean Baligian. Listen, before we get to what...
Hi, Sean.
Hi, Shep. How are you?
I missed you last week. Sorry.
Yeah, no, dude, there's a lot of that going around right now. Let's leave it at that. But listen, before we get to what everybody wants to talk about, and you know what everybody wants to talk about today, we have not had a chance to talk about CEO Matt Shepard yet. Seriously, congratulations, pal. You know, let people know what's going on.
Yeah, really fortunate because working with a great organization called Game Above, and they, of course, sponsoring the bowl game at Ford Field on December 26th between Toledo and Pitt, and have the opportunity to work with some outstanding people, ex-athletes who are super competitive like you and I, really good business people who know what they're doing in a lot of different realms of what Game Above is all about, and working for a guy who believes in giving back and really trusting his people. So really, really fortunate to be part of such a winning group, and there's a lot of exciting things we're doing. So excited to tell people all about it in the coming months and coming weeks.
Yeah, and you know, Todd and I are both wondering, are you guys hiring? You know, is that something that we can just talk about now, or you know, where do we send our resumes to? How does that work, Shep?
Yeah, you would send it to people who are higher up than I am. If I own the company, I would hire you and Todd in a second. I'm lucky if I can, you know, fill out the proper forms to get paid in the first place. So I don't know how that exactly works, but we'll keep you in mind moving forward. I promise you that.
No, seriously, all jokes aside, congratulations.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. And I'm looking forward to seeing the Game Above brand down at Ford Field as well. That was always something that we always did every single year, you know, starting with that Ole Miss game back in 1997, Ole Miss and Marshalls, you know, that was something that we went to every year back at the Silverdome, and it's become a tradition here, Shep. It really has. And obviously now down at Ford Field now. So really looking forward to the brand being on there, so to speak.
Yeah, thanks, bud. Yeah, really looking forward to it as well. And it's going to be in a lot of different places, you know, and there's going to be a lot of exciting news. But I think the beauty of it is just the fact of giving back, youth organizations, community initiatives. I mean, we're talking about an organization that's given close to $40 million to charitable and community initiatives throughout the country, but especially right in this Metro Detroit area. And I think there's a lot to be proud of there. Yeah,
no doubt about that. So congratulations. Make sure you check out everything the Game Above has to offer. It's a growing brand. Is the safe way to say it? It's been around for a while, Shep, but it's going through a growth spurt now.
Oh, yeah, no, there's no doubt about it. Yep. I mean, there's a lot of activity taking place on a pretty regular basis. I feel like right now I'm swimming a little bit, but we'll get caught up fast enough, buddy.
Yeah. Good stuff. Tom says, good evening, fellas. Let's just get right to it, Shep.
Yeah.
I have never, ever in my lifetime seen a team get hit like this.
In any sport.
No, honestly, I've never, there's nothing. And I don't want to sound like a whiny fan because like I went back and I was looking at like historically, I don't see anything like this. It is, look, it's a gut punch. I have no other way to say it. I'm not sitting here saying the season is over, we don't have a chance or anything like that. But it is absolutely remarkable what has happened to this football team. And, of course, we're talking about the Detroit Lions, Shep.
Yeah, I've never seen anything like it. But I would say this. I thought it was going to be really hard to overcome the losses of Hutchinson and Davenport and Anzalone, and for a period of time, Decker, and for a game, Zeitler. Losing, whether it be Jamison Williams to suspension or whatever, I thought it would be really hard to overcome the loss of the depth that this team was building with, various linebackers, right? Jalen Reeves-Maven, Malcolm Rodriguez on top of the starter Alex Anzalone. I thought it'd be really hard, and yet they found a way to do it. And
Right.
it's a credit to the coaches and it's a credit to the organization for having guys. I just feel like, Sean, as a Detroit Lions fan, then when you finally got something right, somebody's up there saying, not yet.
Yeah.
And it breaks my heart for this team because, as you know, we've been around a lot of teams. There's only one team each year. This team will look different next year. And I worry about that. Like, I want this for guys like Frank Ragnow because you don't know how much longer he's going to play. There are certain guys you want this for. I feel so bad for David Montgomery.
Makes me sick.
He has given you everything you could possibly ask. And then to have it pulled out from underneath in the way it did, it's just heartbreaking.
Makes me sick. And Shep, you know what? This is one of those things I can't help but go back to what Dan Campbell said last year, and nobody wanted to hear it. And I think you and I have touched on this before, but this is a perfect time to say it again. Nobody wanted to hear it in the wake of losing to the Niners. But the truth hurts. There is no guarantee. There is no linear way of logic or reason. And everything looked hunky-dory, but he's absolutely right. It's not as easy as I think people make it out to get back to that point that they were at. And Shep, I'm still not ready to wave the white flag. I'm not ready to wave the but we know how difficult it is right now. There's no other way to say that.
Well, here's the thing that I'm looking at too. Detroit has 3 games left, as we know, 2 on the road, Chicago, San Francisco, home against Minnesota. Philadelphia has 3 games left, at Washington, home against the Giants and the Cowboys. Minnesota obviously has 3 games left. Detroit has the toughest assignment of the 3 teams. I believe in this coaching staff. I believe in this team. I think there is the want to. You and I have talked about the gas level, the give a shit level. It's super high. There's no doubt about that. But boy, I mean, when you're playing teams like Philadelphia with like a guy who can move, I mean, that's what's given Detroit the problems, right? Baker Mayfield, really good. Wasn't as much Mayfield as was Detroit's ineptness in the red zone 1 for 7 against Tampa. And then Josh Allen. I watching that game, Sean, I'm thinking to myself, how does anybody beat this guy? Like, how did he play Houston and not be responsible for any touchdowns when he's been responsible for 16 over the last 5 games? It's amazing.
It's insane. Well, and you know what? I mean, the MVP stuff, okay, we can put that away. Now it's Josh Allen. We'll all move on with our lives and everything. Shep, you know what I would add to that, though, where I'm at with this football team right now is, look, okay, obviously we know the routine. You win out, that's it. That's that, okay? You can still lose a game and let it be to the Minnesota Vikings and get the tiebreaker. You can still do that. That is, oh, by the way, you can lose a game and lose to the Philadelphia Eagles and have the Philadelphia Eagles lose one, which it's going to have to be against the Commanders. It can't be against the Giants. It can't be against Dallas. And the Lions can still finish number 1. And the idea of getting that bye week, the idea of having an extra week, and God forbid even getting a couple of those bodies back is unbelievable. But that's the one thing. This is factually, this is not spoken from hope or anything like that. The Lions would have the tiebreaker on the Vikings should they both, the Lions go 2-1 and the Vikings go 3-0. And if the Eagles and Lions both go 2-1, the Lions have the tiebreaker on Philly as well. So those are the things that are at hand right now. But Shep, let's face it, I think from the start of the season, a lot of people, yours truly included, said the ultimate success or failure of this team will be what happens in February. And I felt that way when the season started, and I'm not going to deviate from it now.
It's hard to believe that at 12-2, there are some people who feel like there is a panic meter that is starting to tip against Lions fans.
Right.
I thought to myself, they're 12-2, man. They have the number 1 scoring offense in the league. They had the number 2 scoring defense until Sunday. Now it's down to 7. Still, you're top 10 in those 2 categories. You feel pretty damn good about yourself. The only thing I would say about the Montgomery injury, and then we'll get to the big question mark from yesterday. The Montgomery injury is, if you're going to suffer an injury, I don't want it to be David Montgomery because I really like him and I love what he embodies and everything else. But they do have they have some decent depth there in the sense of obviously Jahmyr Gibbs. Craig Reynolds will be a decent enough guy to spell him once in a while. They drafted the kid in the 4th round, Vaki, for a reason. He can do that just a little bit. Not that you want him toting the rock 15 times a game, but if you got to spell Jahmyr Gibbs for a blow or two, then you can do that. I would be a lot more concerned if it was a long-term injury to an offensive lineman like Penei Sewell, for example.
Yep.
And you're right. Give us some hope. I love the positive thinking. I love the glass half full thought of Sean Baligian right now saying, might get some guys back. If you get a guy back or two, that would be phenomenal. And just from a depth standpoint, right? I mean, you got Ben Neiman out there playing linebacker, playing his guts out there, right? You got Jamal Adams, who barely even knew anybody on this team, walking into the locker room and playing against Green Bay a few snaps and playing more last week. It's tough. It's really tough, dude. The thing that bothers me is, and we didn't have a chance to talk about it after the Packers game, but the thing that bothers me is that so many people are questioning Dan Campbell now, not recognizing that this is who he's been for 3 years, not recognizing that there are other parts of his decision-making that are going unnoticed.
Mm-hmm.
An example, Taylor Decker's hurt against Green Bay. I think the knee-jerk reaction for most people would be, I'm going to take my best offensive lineman, arguably the best tackle in football, move him from right to left, and put Dan Skipper at right. He didn't do that. He kept Sewell there, put Dan Skipper at left tackle, and he allowed one pressure against Green Bay. He's done some of those little things. I was talking with our friend Rob Rubik the other day, and he said, Jamison Williams comes out of Alabama, and he's a downfield threat, and he's what everybody thinks is just going to run a fly pattern, a skinny post, and you're just going to chuck it up there, and he's going to go get it. He's a blocker, too.
Mm-hmm.
He's a hell of a blocking wide receiver. You got to get guys to buy into that stuff. And he bought in. That's part of coaching too, Remember when they moved Brian Branch from corner to safety? And who knows? They may do that again. With Carlton Davis out, would you be surprised if Branch went to corner and they pushed Jamal Adams to safety? I don't know what they're going to do. The point is, he had the foresight to do that, he and Aaron Glenn. How come nobody brings that stuff up? Instead, they bring up the 4th downs, which is also BS, because Cleveland attempts more 4th downs than anybody else. Detroit ranks 9th in that category. It's always the microscope on what this guy should do or shouldn't do instead of what he's already done to get him to where they are.
Well, it's listen, and a lot of times, and I said it last week, you consider the source. I mean, Rob Parker hasn't said anything sincere in 20 years. I'm not even taking a shot. I'm telling the truth. Everybody knows it. What are we doing? Brandon Staley's a better coach. Well, Shep, I'm allowed to say this on the internet, and I hope you're not angry at me. Fuck off. Yeah. That's the stupidest gosh damn thing I've ever heard.
I didn't know he said that.
Oh, of course. It goes one ear and out the other with that guy. He's come on. I know what he's doing. You know what he's doing. I don't know why people pay him any attention. Honestly.
Yeah, I wasn't even referring to him. That's idiocy.
I was. I got no problem. I'll say it.
That's borderline, blatant lunacy. But the other thing, I was referring to what Teddy Bruschi said. I mean, Teddy Bruschi is a Super Bowl linebacker, and he's saying, I want Dan Campbell in my huddle, but not on my sideline.
Yeah.
Again, this is all about clickbait. It's all about look at me. It's all about can I get a headline? It's ridiculous. Okay. Moronic, quite honestly.
I want to get into that because, again, people were hammering Dan Campbell yesterday, and I'm going to stick up for him a little bit. I am, about something. Tom said Wings had to go through rough years. Then you think about 95, then losing to the Avs. They finally got to the finals and won. DP said, if we can hold on to this one spot and make the NFC come through Detroit, I still like our chances. Nick said, who knows? But, man, we are waiting an entire year, and our chances are we have to wait another year, and we have the talent. I hate to be negative, and Parker was clickbait, Shep. Correct. That's all he's ever been. He hasn't said anything sincere in 20 years. Like, stop it. Like, anybody that pays attention to that, I don't get it. I'm not being funny. It's like,
yeah, it's not worth the oxygen. I want to talk to you about what Tom said.
okay.
Tom said the Wings had to go through years in '95, New Jersey. I was there, covered it. You were there too, I believe, too.
No,
and
they
the
got in a
then,
few months later.
and then finally got through the finals and winning it. Do you believe teams have to go through that growing process to win a championship? Because I don't believe in that. I don't believe that, well, the Pistons had to do it through the Celtics and the Bulls had to do it through the Pistons. I don't believe in any of that crap because it didn't happen for the Lakers, okay? What were the growing pains that Tom Brady and the Patriots had to experience? What were the growing pains that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs had to experience? Did Joe Montana suddenly have these learning experiences that I was unaware of before he finally got to a chance to win a Super Bowl? How come it didn't work for Dan Marino? I just don't believe in that stuff. I think if you're good enough, if your team has some good fortune, and let's face it, health is good fortune, then I think you can get there. Because otherwise, San Francisco under Kyle Shanahan would be back and ready to roll, right?
Well, and it's funny because I think we've seen it a few times, so it's almost like that linear thinking. Well, if this happens, then that means next year. Like all the people with the Tigers. Well, look what the Tigers did. So they did this year. I'm telling you right now, they're going to go like this. Just remember, I said this. They're going to take a step back. If you think they're going to be better, you're out your mind. I always think back to Gretzky and when Gretzky and that young Oiler team finally made it to the finals.
Yeah.
And the Islanders just smoked them. And I'm sure you know the famous story. Gretzky said they went in to congratulate the guys afterwards in the Islanders room, and nobody was partying. They were sitting there with ice packs, and they were kind of sipping beers, and he was like, okay, we saw what it takes. We knew we had to pay the price.
Him and Kevin Lowe, right? Him and Kevin Lowe walked in there, right?
Yeah, that's the storybook stuff. But, as you mentioned, it doesn't – I thought you brought up, Tom Brady – and, we're going to be introduced as a team. And so many of us laughed, and then they went out there and played like a team. And then they became the greatest dynasty of the Super Bowl era. So it's crazy how that works. Tim said, do you ever remember a team that has had that many serious injuries? Tim, we said at the start of the show, no. Nope.
Not college, not high school,
nothing
not
like
that. Not any sport.
Nothing.
I have no idea. Nope.
Nothing. Well, and you know what's funny, Shep? This goes hand in hand. Nick said, I'm hearing it from fans across the NFL about crying about our injuries. Yeah, everyone hurt, but it's not an excuse. I don't think the rest of the NFL knows how decimated Detroit is. You know what? They're not wrong, though. Like, whether we want to hear it or not, injuries are part of the game. They are. It's
not like this. Not like this. Look, here's the difference in the NFL. If it's college, it's one thing where you have 90 plus scholarship players from which to choose, or 100 on your sideline. You've got 53 guys. I have said this for over a decade. Okay. Two things about the NFL. One, stop telling me it's about the players, because that's bullcrap. Otherwise, you would have the Chiefs play 3 games in 11 days, and you wouldn't have had a 17th game, and you're going to add an 18th game. So stop telling me it's about the players. And secondarily, this 53-man roster stuff has got to stop. You've got to expand the rosters. You got 53-man roster, and they thought, oh, we expanded the practice squad like that's anything. You got a 53-man roster, 48, is that right? 48 dress on Sundays. It's not enough. Not for this sport. This is not a contact sport. It's a collision sport. You're in a car accident on a regular basis every single Sunday afternoon. You need more bodies out there. Are there enough? I don't know. Maybe that's a situation the NFL has to address on a different date, but you need more bodies available to coaches and personnel.
Never seen anything like this. I got nothing. And I'm not sounding like a sappy Lion fan. I take my job seriously. Yeah. I tried to look things up. I've never seen anything like this. It's insane. It really is insane. And Shep, I'm a big believer in next man up. But when you're next man up, you're 3, 4, 5 deep. At some point in time, it's going to catch up to you. I mean, that's the reality of it. And
yeah.
We'll see.
Here's the other thing. It affects your special teams, Because
No
you
question.
got guys, remember, Jalen Reeves-Maven, captain of the special teams, right? Malcolm Rodriguez, they were special teams guys. You're not just losing those guys for reps on the defense, but
Mhm.
you're losing those guys on special teams too. And that can cost you a little bit, field position, obviously. The other thing that I think is really impressive is, and we can't relate, we just don't know, right? Todd and I
Mhm.
were talking before the show. We're just completely unaware of the schemes and the adjustments to those schemes that Aaron Glenn has had to make because he's got people in there now who A, aren't as familiar with the scheme, and B, are not as talented as the players they're taking the place of. So
Yeah.
how do you adjust and maximize the best of what the player can give you? What do we always say about coaches? The greatest coaches put their players in a position to succeed.
Yep.
Got to be really hard for him when he's not totally familiar with the player and that player's not totally familiar with the scheme.
No doubt. Tim, a friend of mine joked the Lions might be like a high school team, players playing both ways. That's great. Let me tell you about All About Catering, full service caterer. All About Catering LLC. They do graduations, weddings, bridal showers, corporate events, anything you need catering for, from 25 to 4,000 people. All About Catering can and will take care of you. Sometimes you can't do the cooking as much as you want to. Enter Rick and his great staff, because customer service and satisfaction is their number one goal. So don't sweat your next big event. Just go to allaboutcateringllc.com today to see their menus and all their 5-star reviews. Give them a call, 586-731-1398 to get your event started. And because we were being blabbermouthed, Shep, I'm going to kill two birds with one stone and tell you about Lindsey Broadwell. If you're looking for a new pad, you're buying, you're selling both, you need to contact the right agent. Contact Lindsey Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsey grew up on the mean streets of Northville, and she has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of the business, so when it's time to move, our friend Lindsey and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. Make sure you contact Lindsey at BroadwellHomes.com. She'll help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. Shep, to your point about Dan Campbell doing Dan Campbell things, I have heard Dan Campbell annihilated for this for the past 24 hours. And I got annihilated for trying to speak logically to a text message that I have with group text that I have with my friends.
Okay.
And Shep, I think you know where I'm going with this. The decision to do the onside kick at that point in time in the game. And my logic and reasoning behind it, and I didn't even hear Dan explain it away. This is my logic and reasoning behind it, because my friends were going, fireable offense. Okay, this is too much. This is the one. Emotion gets the most of people, so I'm not going to hold it against them, okay? Shep, my mindset is this. Why the hell would you trot your defense back out on the field? Why would you do it? Your defense hasn't stopped Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills all day. You are down to, as Tim said, your 5th, 6th, 7th stringers and everything. You aren't going to stop him. Okay? That is a factual statement. It happened all game. Why not try something different and put the ball in the hands of the strength of your team? I know that people, it was dumb, I can't believe it. You can say that, but if you don't understand the logic behind it, I don't know what to tell you. Shep, honest to God, and you can tell me I'm an idiot too, I didn't have as big a problem with it as so many other people did. I really didn't.
Yeah, I don't think anybody who feels like it's the right thing to do is an idiot. I just disagree, because I would say this: if it weren't for the new rules, I would probably be okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
The fact that the NFL has now made teams tell the other team, by the way, here's what's coming, has taken all surprise out of the decision. So it has to be done to perfection. And I get that, some teams have done it, but it's just so rare now. And if you believe that you're not stopping them, I feel, and I agree with you, that you weren't stopping. I mean, Sam Martin only punted once.
Yeah.
I guess I would say, knowing that the odds are against you to recover it, why would you want to, and you can't stop them, why would you want to give them half a field to do it? At least make them go further downfield and hope for some possible miracle where you either A, do stop them, or B, get a turnover. 12 minutes, 10-point game, I believe, situation. I look at risk reward. I had a problem with them going for it on 4th down against the Packers at the Green Bay 21. I was wrong, because the risk reward there was, the reward is the game is over. The risk is you give it back to them. They've got 40 seconds to try and drive 60 yards to try and get in field goal range. Here, in this situation, down 10, 12 minutes to go, what's the risk? The risk is you give Josh Allen a 45-yard field, a 50-yard field. What's the reward? You get the ball back, and you hope you can score. I just didn't agree with it at the time. But anybody who's calling for Dan Campbell's head because of that situation, or wants to put him on notice, I would remind everybody of the gunslinger mentality that he has implemented, not into just the Lions, but in the NFL and college and high school. You and I have talked about that. More and more people are going for it. And the things that make you stand up and clap as one with somebody you don't know from Northville, giving them a high five, even though they're not in your neighborhood. Those are all the reasons this team is 12-2 in the first place, when 12-4 a year ago. And how he affects those players in that locker room. Stop overreacting, please.
The guys love it. And Shep, I don't care what anybody says. When you are a trendsetter, when you change the way the game is played and called, you're doing something right. And you see it at every level of the game now. You see it at high school. You see it at, obviously in college. You see it at the pro level. I mean, that's the Dan Campbell effect. Whether people want to admit it or not, I don't care. We didn't see these things until Dan Campbell started doing it left and right. And, oh, by the way, having a great deal of success with it as well.
Oh, and by the way, he has punted on 4th down. I'm not sure people understand that.
He has. Yeah, it has.
How many times have you been watching? So you were talking about your buddies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you were in the group chat. How many times have you watched a game with them? Campbell goes for it, they get it. And those guys are just like, that's what I love about this guy. I'm fist pumping a high five. Sean, can you give me another rack of ribs off your grill? All that stuff, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Suddenly it doesn't work. And it's like, enough is enough. How many headlines did we read last week? You know what? The Lions are good enough. There's no reason for Dan Campbell to do this any longer. Oh, really? Just out of curiosity, do you know his team? Do you know the pulse of his team, the DNA of his team, the heartbeat of that team? Who's got a better feel for it, him or us? Please pass the Cheetos. I'll make the decision.
Yeah,
Give me a break, man.
Yeah.
Come on.
Bill said, let's go ahead and burn those lion black uniforms ASAP. I'm sorry. I just think they're the ugliest things on earth.
But dude, I am so with
They
you.
are so
I
ugly.
can't tell you how many people said, stop acting like old guy.
Well,
Thank you.
You got it.
Thank you.
Shep, that's the funniest thing to me. That is such the in sheet go-to now. It really is. Do you know what the reality is? And I brought this up last spring. You could trot the Lions out there in turquoise jerseys with pink and peach polka dots all over it. And you know what? Everybody would go, that's dope. That's hype. That's what I'm talking about. That's 3-1-3 Detroit football. Shut the hell up. They're ugly. Just admit it. We can all move on.
Thank you,
Sean, did Hunter get your Heisman vote? Biggest no-brainer ever. I can't believe it was that close.
Good job.
Shep, I cannot believe the Heisman vote was that close. I was actually kind of offended at it, to be honest with you. But that's a story for a different day. Maybe Jeff Daniels and Eminem cursed us more. Bobby Lyon said, okay, I'll give you Super Bowl talent and take it all away the last third of the season. I'm not there yet. Bill said, I had no issue with that onside kick. If Bates makes a field goal, we kick it deep. It was obvious we couldn't stop Allen. Bam.
Well, remember, Buffalo missed a field goal too.
Yes, they did. Yeah. I understand the onside kick that the defense couldn't stop them all day, down 14 to start, playing catch up. No doubt. I saw the fan-sided report Chiefs release CEH. I probably don't need to complete this thought, but given the Montgomery news, do the Lions take a shot at him, Y or N?
Well,
I know it'll happen Tuesday at Allen Park. I know that, Shep.
You know what?
There'll be a whole lot of running back.
Oh, you bet.
Happens every week.
He's got the PTSD, right? Is that what it's called? Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. I mean, I would bring him in. I wouldn't be afraid of bringing just about anybody who's got some talent in. Question is, is he willing to give you more than what you got right now?
Right.
So this is not uncommon, folks. I mean, teams bring in slew of players every single week to see if they can get better.
Yep. No doubt about it. Live by the sword, die by the sword. He has been more conservative this year, actually. 10-0 Vikings already. That's why Shep and I are going to get going in a second. When ASU was going for it more than once against ISU, Dan Campbell was the first person I thought about, along with ASU replacing Ben Johnson when he leaves. Ben Johnson's going to have his pick of a few jobs in the NFL.
He's not going to jump at the chance just because it's going to be an opportunity. He's got to make sure it's the right job. Like, I think if I'm Chicago, I'm knocking on his door because of the offensive talent.
100%. 100%. Tim up in the UP, last one, get rid of declaring on the onside kick. Amen. The Browns had white helmets, bring back the orange.
Amen. I'm with Sean 100% on this. But you're also talking to the guy who couldn't stand. I mean, I got threw up in my mouth when the Pistons went to the teal and the maroon and all that other stuff. Especially when you've got classic colors like the Pistons, red, white, and blue. We all know it's about marketing. We know it's about merchandising. The point is, why do you have to trick it up so much where it doesn't even look like your team? It'd be one thing if they still had the silver helmets. It'd be another thing if they played with the silver pants or a blue jersey or whatever. Why does everybody have to dress like pajamas for this alternate uniform, like the Tigers' alternate uniform, which looked like a bunch of softballers?
It was.
Bring up the King and I, the old guy who used to throw the softball and have championships.
King
That's
in his
what they look like. Yeah, that's what they look like.
Yeah. Shep, you know what? I'm going to tell you right now as well. The black jerseys give me like horrible PTSD to the Mike Williams era. And watching him sit in his cubicle with like Funyun stains and Cheetos all over that black jersey, it was a lot easier to pick up.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that's a bad pregame meal? What's your problem?
And then he'd look at you and tell you straight in the eye, I'm working my tail off, man. I know what people are saying. Never to get me started. Hey, did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents, and they provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all of your insurance needs, personal and business, large and small. Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you, and, oh, by the way, help save you some money at the same time. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you are paying too much and you could be underinsured. That's what it was with my family. Enter Legacy Partners. They can do for you what they did for me. Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, your cars, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, or your business insurance needs. Call them today at 586-209-4106 or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Nick said, what about Glenn to the Jets? Minnesota wearing nasty jerseys tonight. Dallas may not be looking. McCarthy may stay. I've heard that. Shep, you know what's funny?
I would be floored if that happened. Floored.
Shep,
if McCarthy stayed.
You know what's funny? I think a lot of times what people do, like my first reaction when I hear Aaron Glenn to the Jets, my first reaction is, why the hell would anybody want to go there? That place is a disaster. The Aaron Rodgers deal, it really, an already bad franchise, they're in for some hurting years ahead, okay? But I think you know this better than anybody, Shep. I got to check myself every time I say that, because you know the one thing we don't account for is ego. Like, honestly, these guys have an ego, and they're, and I'm not saying Coach Glenn in particular, right, just guys in general. They I can fix it. I know what I'm doing. Did you see the success that I had? So that's a big part of these conversations.
Titus Young, Schwartz. I can fix him.
Yep.
I fixed Albert Hainsworth. I can fix Titus Young, and that's literally what he said. And he feels like he could do it. I don't think it's as much ego with Aaron Glenn. I think the association people have is, well, he used to play for the Jets, so he wants to go back there. I think there's some attractive things about the Jets. You know, I think they've got good wide receivers. I think they've got a defense that you can build upon. The question is the trigger. I believe we don't know if Aaron Rodgers is coming back, but they sure as hell don't have anybody else unless you're going to go out and spend money or make a trade to get somebody who can actually throw the football. Sam Darnold going back? Probably not. I'm guessing that they're going to do something about that position when the season is over. I think Aaron Glenn is going to have his pick of just about any team too. I literally think Detroit's two coordinators are the two most coveted coordinators in the NFL, and just about every team is going to want to interview him.
No, that's exactly it. And like Nick said, it's New York. He played there. Listen, Shep, I'll disagree with you slightly. I think they're a disaster for years to come. Salary-wise, locker room-wise, just so many things. And I don't know if somebody would want to walk into that disaster. But as I said, I check myself because I can fix it. How many? I mean, you've heard guys say that all the time, and I know he's got a history there and everything, but on the outside looking in, I don't know if I'd want anything to do with it.
It wouldn't be first on my list, but winning cures a lot of locker room issues. I mean, if Philadelphia had a locker room issue with A.J. Brown and Jalen Hurts while they're winning 10 games in a row, and they were able to fix it to a certain extent, and maybe it was overblown, if the Jets were to win, I'm sure you'd be able to overcome it.
Yeah, no doubt about. What do you think about the Heisman, Shep? Because I was, I know we touched on it earlier. I was surprised, and I'm not taking anything away from Genty. Okay, the guy had a fantastic season.
Yeah.
I think what Hunter did, though, we don't see that.
No,
there will be another Genty maybe next year, maybe 2 years from now, maybe for the next 4 years, we will see a Genty. What Hunter did, that. We don't see that today. We don't see that.
I agree with you. The only thing is, I mean, Genty's 132 yards away from breaking Barry Sanders' record. I don't know if we'll see that.
Right.
But you're right. I mean, Hunter played, the amount of snaps that he played of well over 1,400. I know because he plays on both sides of the ball, but that's because he's really good. Compared to the next closest was 873.
Mm-hmm.
That is amazing how much he's on the field of play, and to be considered one of the best wide receivers in all of college football and one of the best cover corners in all of football. And to be able to get as strong as he was throughout the game every single Saturday, knowing that teams, I would guess, would try to do everything they can to try and take him off his game on both sides of the ball, speaks volumes about that kid's ability and his character. Probably the number one overall pick, don't you think?
Yeah. I mean, well, the quarterbacks, Shep, we have that. I know you and I have talked.
One quarterback. There's not one quarterback I'd take in the first round. Not one.
But 6 are going. Let's just set our watch
because they draft for need instead of best value.
It's gonna happen. Set your watch to it. It's amazing because
would you take Cam Ward? Would you take Cam Ward?
No, I don't. Really, I don't like any of these guys. But
would you take Jalen Milroe?
Maybe later.
Would you take Lewis?
First round value? No.
Sanders? No way. I'm not taking any of these guys.
They're going to go though. I mean, it's set your watch to it. It's amazing. All right, one more thing before we get out of here. We do have to tell you about our friends at the Wealth Advantage Group. If you're ready to take charge of your financial future, look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group. They're located in historic downtown Northville and owned by those two guys, the Hanson brothers, with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. And that's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. I don't have the first clue. You know what? They did it for me. They'll do it for you. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, Mike and Jeff can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of life and have clients in over 20 different states. The investment world is a complex one. So if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, then it might be time to work with the experts. Reach out to my friends at the Wealth Advantage Group at 248-773-8574 or check out their website at www.thewealthadv.com. You know why we're hurrying so quickly? Because I just want to go watch the Raiders and the Falcons tonight. I can't think of anything better. Shep, remember when we were kids, my buddies and I were
talking about Max Crosby.
Right. And the great Aiden O'Connell. But Shep, do you remember when we were kids, what a big deal it was to have those 2 Saturday games like in early December?
Yeah.
No way. The NFL's on, and there's always one at like 12:30 and one at 4:30. That was like the greatest day ever, wasn't it?
Yeah, to watch Lindsey Nelson. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. All right, bud. Great job as always.
Great to see you. Thanks, pal.
Congratulations again. Okay, buddy.
Thank you, my man. I'll talk to you soon.
God bless you, Todd. Thank you, and thank you for watching. Talk to you guys soon. Bye.
Shep and Sean, featuring Matt Shepard and Sean Baligian. Executive produced by Sean Baligian and Todd Losey. Theme song, incidental music, and related sound effects are from Still Alive by Anti-Ghost. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated Podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.